We get started.
Wait.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai
ચાલુ થયું છે
Tejasvinavadhitamatu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today we will chant up to the completing all the 5 koshas, that is up to Anandamaya kosha. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate Sadhan Chatushtaya Sampannadhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha Sadhan Chatushtayam Kim Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha Iha Trarthapala bhoga viragaha Shamadhi shataka sampattihi Mumukshutvam cheti Nitya nitya vastu vivekaha kaha Nitya vastvekam brahma Tadvyatiriktam sarvam anityam Ayameva nitya nitya vastu vivekaha viragaha kaha iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam shamadhi sadhana sampattihi ka Shamodama uparati titiksha shraddha samadhanam cha iti shamaha kaha mano nigraha damaha kaha chakshuradi bahyendriya nigraha uparamaha kaha Swadharmanushthanameva titikshaka shitoshna sukha dukkhadi sahishnutvam shraddha kidrishi guru vedanta bhakyadishu vishwasah shraddha samadhanam kim Chittaikagrata mumukshutvam kim moksho me bhuyatiti ichha etat sadhan chatushtayam tataha tat तत्त्वविवेकस्याधिकारिणो भवन्ति। तत्त्वविवेकः कः? आत्मा सत्यं तदन्यत् सर्वं मिथ्येति। आत्मा कः? स्थूल सूक्ष्म कारण शरीरात् व्यतिरिक्तः पंचकोशातीतः सन् अवस्थात्रय साक्षी सच्चिदानंद स्वरूपः सन् यत्तिष्ठति स आत्मा। स्थूल शरीरं किं? पंचीकृत पंचमहाभूतैः कृतं सत्कर्मजन्यं सुख दुःखादिभोगायतनं शरीरम् अस्ति। जायते वर्धते विपरिणमते अपक्षीयते विनश्यतीति षड्विकारवत् एतत् स्थूल शरीरम्। स्थूल शरीरं किम्? अपंचीकृत पंचमहाभूतैः कृतं सत्कर्मजन्यं सुख दुःखादिभोगसाधनं। पंच ज्ञानेन्द्रियाणि पंच कर्मेन्द्रियाणि पंच प्राणादयः मनश्चैकं बुद्धिश्चैका एवं सप्तदश कलाभिः सह यत्तिष्ठति तत् सूक्ष्म शरीरम्। श्रोत्रं त्वक् चक्षुः रसना घ्राणम् इति पंच ज्ञानेन्द्रियाणि। श्रोत्रस्य दिग्देवता त्वचो वायुः चक्षुषः सूर्यः रसनाया वरुणः घ्राणस्य अश्विनौ इति ज्ञानेन्द्रियदेवताः। श्रोत्रस्य विषयः शब्दग्रहणम् त्वचो विषयः स्पर्शग्रहणम् चक्षुषो विषयः रूपग्रहणम् रसनाया विषयः रसग्रहणम् घ्राणस्य विषयः गन्धग्रहणम् इति। वाक्पाणिपादपायुपस्थानिति पंचकर्मेन्द्रियाणि। वाचो देवता वह्निः हस्तयोरिन्द्रः पादयोर्विष्णुः पायोर्मृत्युः उपस्थस्य प्रजापतिः इति कर्मेन्द्रियदेवताः। वाचो विषयः भाषणम् पाणयोर्विषयः वस्तुग्रहणम् पादयोर्विषयः गमनम् पायोर्विषयः मलत्यागः उपस्थस्य विषयः आनन्द इति। कारण शरीरं किम्? अनिर्वाच्य अनाद्य अविद्यारूपं शरीरद्वयस्य कारणमात्रं सत्स्वरूप अज्ञानं निर्विकल्पकरूपं यदस्ति तत् कारणशरीरम्। अवस्थात्रयं किम्? जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्त्यावस्थाः। जाग्रत् अवस्था का? श्रोत्रादिज्ञानेन्द्रियैः शब्दादिविषयैश्च ज्ञायते इति या सा जाग्रत् अवस्था। Sthula Sharirabhimani Atma Vishwa Ityuchyate Swapnavastha Keti Chet Jagrat Avasthayam Yadrishtam Yachrutam Tajjannita Vasanaya Nidra Samaye Yaha Prapanchaha Pratiyate Sa Swapnavastha Sukshma Sharirabhimani Atma Tejasa Ityuchyate Atha Sushuptyavastaka Aham Kimapi na Janami Sukhena Maya Nidranubhuyat Iti Sushuptyavastha Karana Sharirabhimani Atma Pragya Ityuchyate Panchakoshaha ke Annamayaha Pranamayaha Manomayaha Vijnanamayaha Anandamayas-cheti Annamayaha kaha Annarasanaiva bhutva Annarasanaiva vriddhim prapya Anna Rupa Prithivya Yad Viliyate Tad Annamayaha Koshaha Sthula Shariram Pranamayaha Kaha Pranadhyaha Panchavayavaha Vagadi Indriya Panchakam Pranamaya Koshaha Manomayaha kaha manascha jnanendriya panchakam militva yo bhavati saha manomayaha koshaha vijnanamayaha kaha buddhi jnanendriya panchakam militva yo bhavati saha Vijnanamayaha koshaha Anandamayaha kaha Evameva karana Sharira bhutat Vidyavstha malina sattvam Priyadi vritti sahitam Sat Anandamayaha koshaha Etat Kosha Panchakam. So, last when we met a couple of weeks ago, we had completed the 3 states of consciousness. The logic that this book is leading us to is to discover what is Atma. And what is Atma? The first was, when we start this inquiry, the first thing he is defined was Atma. It is other than the 3 bodies, other than the 5 koshas, other than the 3 states of consciousness of the nature of existence, knowledge, and bliss, which is Satchidananda. That is Atma. So if Atma is other than this, we have to understand what are these, the 3 bodies, the 5 koshas, the 3 states of consciousness. So then he further explained to us what are the 3 bodies, the gross body or the physical body, which is nothing other than Panchikrita Panchamahabhutehi Krita, made of grossified 5 elements, which is the counter of experiences, because of which we get all the experiences in life. It is the area of transaction for the experiences. And it goes through 6 modifications. Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinmate. It is born. It exists, then it is born, then it grows, then it matures, then it decays and dies. These are the 6 modifications that the physical body goes through. That is the gross body. What is the subtle body? The subtle body is the instrument with which we experience, and it is made up of 5 subtle elements which haven't undergone grossification, and it has 17 aspects to it, which are the 5 organs of knowledge, 5 organs of action, the 5 pranas, 1 mind, and 1 intellect. Composed of these 17 aspects is the subtle body. He further described the organs of action and organs of knowledge, but we don't need to review that. We all are fully aware of what they are. And then the Karana Sharira, or the causal body. The causal body is Anadi, beginningless. It is avidya, ignorance of the self. It is, we had explained a bit of the cosmic Maya in our bosoms. And because tamas, Maya, we said, is made up of sattva, rajas, and tamas, and malina sattva, which means the sattva is overpowered by tamas. So our real self is hidden from us. It is because we don't know it. It is inexplicable, and it is beginningless. When did it begin? We don't know. But certainly we know that it can end. That is, and it is the cause of the 2 bodies. The 2 bodies are the gross body and the subtle body. That is why it is called the causal body. Now, in the definition of Atma, other than 3 bodies and other than 5 sheets, but he first explained the 3 states of consciousness. This is to just bring about a clarity of understanding and appreciation. The author takes that liberty so that the ideas are clarified to us. So the 3 states of consciousness are very closely linked to the 3 bodies. The waking state is when the Atma, conscious principle, which is the Atma, is functioning through all 3 bodies, the gross body, the subtle body, and the physical body. And we are aware of all the objects and of the world, fully aware of the world around us. In the dream state, the physical body is knocked off, and so is the intellect knocked off. And all the experiences that we have had in the waking state are then they just come forth, and they come forward in the mind, and they don't certainly come in any order. They come randomly. That is the mind's delete mechanism, because it is holding on to so much that we do need to create room to hold on to more and to get more and more input. So it's a mind's natural delete mechanism. And the deep sleep state of consciousness is when both the gross body and the subtle body are knocked off. And sukhena maya nidra anubhuya. So there are 2 experiences that are combined into one. That are amalgamated, that I do not know, and I slept happily and peacefully. Happily, peacefully is the same. So these 2 experiences are amalgamated and they become one. Now, how do I know that I slept happily? One of the, I'm just going a little further into this. So it is a recall. At the time, we have no idea of what is happening. We are in deep sleep and we know nothing. But on waking up, we are recalling an experience. So we have to know what is an experience then. An experience is, it really takes place when an object is held by our mind. That is when an experience takes place. When any object is held by the mind, that is called a vritti in Sanskrit, and that is a thought. So the substance of mind, if it is peaceful, it is still, then we are our real self, which we will see. We don't need to go into that, but any disturbance in the mind is a thought. And that disturbance, it holds in its ambit, or it holds on to an object. And that object, that is called an experience of that particular object. So if the experience is of peace, that means the thought in the mind is of peace. Now, when we are in deep sleep, it is not, we don't call it a thought in our language, because it is a very subtle, if it is a thought, then we will be experiencing at that moment. But at that moment, there is no experience. So it is a very, very subtle experience, but it is there. Because we are able to recall it. If it was not an experience, we would not be able to recall it. What we can recall is what we have experienced. Very subtle thought given by Vedanta, which I don't know how many philosophies have given. So that we can recall it means that it was a very subtle experience. And because it was a very subtle experience, it was a subtle thought. So that, and at that time, what did I experience? Happiness and peace. That happiness, that peace which I experienced is not of the thought, but it is because the disturbing mind, the mischief-causing mind is absent. And because the mischief-causing mind is absent, I experience the joy of Atma, the bliss of self, that peace of self, the happiness of self. And that is why deep sleep is a very peaceful, blissful experience. All of us experience it. That is the key difference between sleeping. When we go into meditation, it is with awareness and alertness. And in deep sleep, their awareness is not there. It just happens. And that is why people who meditate are fully energetic, always enthusiastic, always happy and cheerful. The deeper their state of meditation, the more peaceful, blissful the people are. And we find that that's what happens with all who are able to experience deep sleep. Even for people who have mental challenges, they suggest that, they give them drugs to make them sleep. But what the drugs do is it actually numbs them rather than puts them to deep sleep. So this is just one aspect of deep sleep that I wanted to clarify. And in deep sleep, it is the conscious principle functioning through the causal body. Now we come to 5 koshas. So the 5 koshas is nothing but the 3 bodies. It is another way of explaining the 3 bodies. This is a Prakarana Grantha, which is a book that introduces us to all the terms and terminology of Vedanta. And if we were to continue our studies of Vedanta and we were to take up some book that describes these 3 bodies as koshas, then we would not be, suddenly surprised what are these koshas, but we would know what is being referred to. So that is why this book covers koshas as well. So what is a kosha? A kosha means a sheath. It also means something that covers or holds something. And what is also unique about that is that it takes on some of the properties of that which it covers, and just looking at it, we can get an idea of what it holds, or it takes on some of the properties which I will elaborate upon. In Sanskrit and in many Indian languages also, a purse is called a kosha. A bag is called a kosha. A sheath is a kosha. A scabbard that holds a sword is a kosha. Now, when you look at the scabbard, it has the shape of a sword. It has, the minute you see it, you know what is in it. It takes on some of the properties. You cannot use it as a sword. You have to take the sword out of it. It does not have the sharpness, otherwise you cannot hold it. But so just looking at it, you know what it is. The purse, it becomes very valuable. When does it become valuable? Because of what? What is inside. When you know what is inside, and it has something valuable in it, the purse takes the value of what is in it. Similarly, these 5 koshas, they cover our Atman, our true self, that conscious principle, and they don't, the koshas don't hide our real self. It is our identification with the koshas that covers the self to us. So once we know what these koshas are, we can move away from them and come to our real self. So it is, the problem is that our knowledge is mistaken because of bondage with or identification with our body, mind, and intellect. So with the koshas. So what are these 5 koshas? So the first one is Annamaya kosha, or the food sheath. So this food sheath is born from the essence of food, grows from the essence of food, merges back into the earth, from which is the nature of food, and is called the food sheath. That is our gross body. So this gross body that we study is also a covering that covers ourselves. And this is the grossest covering, we can say, the most external covering. Now this body seems to be alive. It seems to be conscious. It takes on the properties. Body, what is this body? Nothing but carbon, calcium, phosphorus, nitrogen, which is earth. None of them are conscious. That is why Kabir wrote such a beautiful doha, Mati kahe kumhar ko, tu kya ronde mohe. Ek din aisa hoega, main rondungi to hai. You know, as he was on the potter's wheel and he was making a pot on the wheel, he felt as if the clay was talking to him and telling him, you think you are alive, there will be, and you are molding me, but there will be a day when I will end up molding you, which means you realize that this body is nothing but clay. What a poetic and a beautiful way of bringing that great knowledge in so simply to all. So this physical body is nothing but, matter. It is born out of the essence of food, the sperm and the ova. They are both nothing but the essence of food that was taken in by the father and the mother. The zygote that forms because of the sperm and ova coming together is also nourished by the essence of food. then it becomes a fetus. That fetus is also nourished by the essence of food taken by the mother. When the baby is born, again it is the mother, the essence of food that mother takes, that nurtures and nourishes this baby. It is all nothing but the essence of food, not food directly, the nourishment that comes. And even our body, after we start feeding independently, it grows from the essence of food, not directly the food we take. And in the end, it goes back to the earth, which is the cycle of, the food chain, as they call it. So that is this cross body, which is the Annamaya Kosha. What is the vital air sheath or the Pranamaya Kosha? So he says the Pranamaya Kosha are the 5 physiological functions like prana and so on, and the 5 organs of action like speech and so on. Together, they form the vital air sheaths. So what are the 5 pranas? He says pran adya. Pran adya means beginning with prana, and collectively also called as pranas. So these are the physiological function that keep the body alive. So these 5 pranas, again, they are faculties we are talking about, but not the very action or the function. So it is the 5 pranas: aprana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana. So when we say prana, it means the respiration, inhalation, and exhalation. But in other terms, prana also refers to as taking in. So the word prana collectively means all the 5 pranas, and also the faculty of respiration, which is inhalation and exhalation also. Now, some people will say exhalation is apana because apana is removal, is throwing out its excretion. But when we talk, in common parlance, that the prana has left, which means there is no respiration, which means the person is no longer alive. But these are the physiological functions, which are the manifestation of life itself. So prana, which is respiration, apana, which is excretion. Now, removal of all toxins and unwanted substances from the body. And in the subtle level, it can also, we can take it as rejecting of ideas and things that we do not want in our life. So before we go to Vyana and Udana, Samana or Samikarana is digestion. It is taking nutrients from that which is taken, and that is the digestive aspect. Vyana is circulation. It ensures that which is taken in, nourishment, is circulated properly throughout the body. So again, remember here we are talking of the faculty of circulation. It is subtler than the very action, should I say, of circulation. And the one that we have not talked about so far is Udana. Udana is the faculty behind reverse processes like hiccups, throwing up, when we are not able to hold food within us and we throw it out through the mouth. It is a reverse process. Though that faculty of reverse processes is Udana. So these are the 5 pranas: prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana, which is respiration, excretion, digestion, circulation, and reverse processes. These pranas together energize our karmendriyas, our organs of actions. And they are closely related with action. So to complete the pranamaya kosha, there can be no actions without these pranas. So pranamaya kosha and karmendriyas together, pranas and the karmendriyas together are one unit, which is called the vital air sheath, which is pranamaya kosha. Now, if you remember, the Sukshma Sharira, it is made up of 17 aspects. 5 Jnanendriyanis, which is the organs of knowledge, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, mind and intellect. So the Annamaya Kosha is just the physical gross body. The Pranamaya Kosha is completed with the 5 pranas and the organs of action. Now, what is the Manomaya Kosha? Manas and Jnanendriyani. So for the mind, here we'll first read the translation. The mind and the 5 organs of perception together form the mental sheath. So for the mind to function, whether it is a state of doubt or disturbance, whether it is a state of compassion or emotion, the mind is a seat of emotion as well. Whatever it is, it must have some input from senses. Without an input from senses, the mind cannot function. So the mind, and what is the mind and intellect will come further in detail. No, we've done it in detail, have we? Or it will come. Anyway, it will come. So mind and the 5 organs of knowledge together comprise what is the Manomaya Kosha, or the mental sheath. Vijnanamaya, how are we doing for time? You're okay. Vijnanamaya Kosha is the same. It is the intellect plus the 5 organs of knowledge. Because even for the intellect to form a complete unit, it needs input from the senses. So intellect also, the intellectual sheath is intellect plus the 5 organs of knowledge. Now, Anandamaya Kosha. These koshas are, not so much of a challenge as to understand and appreciate. But what is Anandamaya Kosha? So the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the bliss sheath established in ignorance, which is the form of the causal body of impure nature united with thoughts like Priya and so on, is the bliss sheath. So we had said that we experience our causal body only in deep sleep. That is when we are conscious of it. Now, but Anandamaya Kosha, it is not only Karana Sharira, but also in the waking state. Do we have experience of joy and happiness? Yes, we do. So what is it that gives us an experience of joy and happiness? And here he has used the word Priya. So the joy that we experience, whether it is in waking state or dream state. So Anandamaya Kosha will cover all 3 states of consciousness. It is experienced in all 3 states of consciousness because we have joy in dream as well as in waking state of consciousness too. Priya is when I see an object of my liking. It is Ishta Vastu Darshanam Janyam. When I see, it is born out of seeing, Priya, of seeing an object of my liking. Say I am, out shopping for a car, and suddenly I see this luxury car, my dream car. And just seeing that luxury car, wow, the joy that I experience is Priya. Now I, calculate how much, what is the cost of that car? Will I be able to afford it or not? And then having done all my calculations and accounting and taken everything into account, really, I think I can, this is within my grasp. So I go and I, put some money down towards the car and I pay for the car. The joy that I experience, that is called Ishta Vastu Labhajanya. Just knowing that it is mine. The joy that is experienced is different from the joy that comes from seeing. Now I get the delivery of the car. I sit in the car and I turn the key and I drive in that car. And the joy that I experience, it is Ishta Vastu Bhogajanya. That is, so it was Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. The joy, the exuberance of just enjoying that car. That these are all experiences that you get. So they all come under this sheath, which is the bliss sheath. So bliss sheath is a sheath that is experienced in deep sleep in all three states of consciousness. In the deep sleep state of consciousness, it is because of absence of the mind, which is mischief making, and the joy of self reflects through. Now, even in the waking state, the joy that comes out is because of our Atman. The joy is really in the Atman. All the things outside do is bring it out. For example, the greater the disturbance in the mind, the greater will be the joy experienced. Say, I'm used to having coffee at 4 o'clock. At my place of work, I'm not able to, at 3:55, my mind starts the thought, it's coffee time. And I think, oh, but I have to complete this project. And I'm trying to work on the project and the mind was coffee, 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 coffee. And I'm working, but that inside that agitation is there. And I'm not able to finish till 4:30. The mind is really agitated. And finally at 4:30, I finish the project and I run towards the coffee bar. The mind is saying, oh, I can't wait to get this cup of coffee. And finally I get that cup of coffee and I take a sip. And I just like I want this. This is the best coffee I've ever had. Right temperature, right amount of cream and sugar as I like it. This is bliss. The bliss I experienced was because the mind, which was disturbing me, got quietened suddenly. And because the disturbance was great, the peace that I experienced was great. So that peace, that bliss, which is experienced, whether it is in waking, whether it is in dream, or whether it is in deep sleep state, is all from this Anandamaya Kosha. These are the 5 sheets that cover the Atman. Once we recognize these 5 sheets, we will further see how logically this book will lead us to our real self, which is of the nature of Satchidanand. We'll stop here. We'll say our concluding prayers and then we can meet for a little while. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
યસ, હવે ટાઈમ કન્સ્ટ્રેન્ટ જતો રહ્યો છે, પેલું સબસ્ક્રાઇબ કરી દીધું છે ને એટલે.
That's nice. So